Hello, and welcome to today's Daily Chronicle. Today is September 5th, 2024. Never lose courage. A Paralympian who could barely walk as a kid takes 2 track medals. India's newest star athlete, Preeti Pal, hails from a farming village in Muzaffarnagar, about 80 miles outside Delhi. In a few days, she will leave the Paralympics in Paris with 2 medals and arrive home to a massive celebration. She's the first Indian track and field athlete to double medal at a single Paralympic Games, a bronze in both the 100-meter and 200-meter races. Pal was born with cerebral palsy and competes in the T35 category, which includes runners with coordination impairments such as hypertonia, ataxia, and athetosis. These conditions will all impact movement. During the Paralympics, Pal's photos went viral across social media. In many Instagram posts, she's draped in the Indian flag, looking like a hero from a comic book, a far cry from her childhood. When local villagers told her parents they'd never be able to get her married because of her disability, Pal, now 23 years old, was born with cerebral palsy and misshapen legs and feet, so she could barely walk as a child. Years of treatment, physical therapy, and coaching transformed her into a track phenomenon. NPR talked to Pal on Tuesday after her races on August 30th and September 1st. The interview has been edited for length and clarity. How did you first dream of career in sports? When I was 18, I was watching sports videos on social media, and a video showing para-athletes popped up. I had never even heard of the Paralympic Games or anything related to para-athletics. I found out this is where disabled people play. I had seen videos of blade runners with prosthetic legs, and I thought if they're running, so can I. Then I met a para-athlete named Fatima Khatun at a stadium, and she told me about these sports. Step by step, she guided me. People used to say about me, she can't even walk properly, so how can she run well? In the 100-meter and 200-meter races, you have to run on the front part, the balls of your feet. Since I wasn't able to keep my feet straight on the ground, I would just walk on the front of my feet. So that's my plus point. I'm good at running like that. Bronze medalist Preeti Pal of Team India celebrates her second bronze medal in track and field at the Paris Paralympics. Born with cerebral palsy, she's the first Indian woman to double medal in track at the event. Her second win took place on September 1st. What's the nature of your condition and what kind of treatment did you receive as a child? Since I was born with cerebral palsy, I have weakness in my legs and feet. When I was born, my feet were very crooked. When I was very young, my feet were plastered to try to straighten them out. Later, I wore calipers, braces, to support my feet and legs to help me walk. I couldn't keep my feet straight on the ground, so I would just walk on the front of my feet. I had all kinds of treatment. In my childhood, when they used to press and massage my feet, I had to just stand there, and it was so painful. I also had to get injections. The special shoes and calipers I wore on my legs below the knees and feet helped a bit to straighten my crooked posture. Was your family supportive of your athletic dreams? Did they urge you to be realistic and not have such dreams? My dad said to all 4 of his children, 2 boys, 2 girls, "You don't worry. I will work hard to earn money and spend my money for you all to succeed." He used to run a dairy farm and sent us from the village to the nearby city for a better quality education. He said to study hard and you will have a good life. When I found out about sports, I told my dad I want to do this. Papa said, "Child, what will you get through sports? It's all about studies. That's how you get a good job and make money." So then I explained to him, I want to do something with my life, but my interest is in sports. And as soon as I got my first medal in a state competition, he understood his daughter can do something. She's telling the truth. Then he thought I should support her, not hold her back. Since then, I've always received support. They also liked that their daughter was putting in so much effort. They saw that even though I was weak, I worked really hard. Was coming from a rural area a handicap in terms of training options and funding? My family moved us from our rural farming area to the city of Meerut for better studies and opportunities. But even there, it was hard. I used to wake up at 5 a.m., make food for the family, then I would bicycle 5 kilometers to my training and get tired even before starting a workout. When I went to the Asian Games in 2022, in the 200 meters and 100 meters, I didn't medal. I was so disappointed, but a lot of athletes explained to me, just think, this is a dream just to make it here. You still have a lot ahead of you. including the World Championships and Paralympics. Did that give you hope? I thought if I didn't medal here, how will I do in a world game? Then, my running mentor, Fatima, took me to Delhi to meet a new coach, and I moved to Delhi to live in a camp and train in a stadium there. Do you have a hero, a mentor, or an inspiration? Without a coach, there is no athlete. My guru is my coach, Gajengar Singh, and his wife, para-runner Simran Sharma, is my idol. Even if she gets tired, she doesn't show it. Just by watching her, it motivates me. My dream was to practice just once with her, and now I do daily practice with her. I made up my mind that whatever my coach says, I will agree. Coach said on my first day that he'll coach my practice on one condition. Never say no. I can't do this. If you ever say no, that will be your last day. I thought, I'll never say no, and I'll just keep going. I salute him for improving me and bringing my level much higher. It's through my coach that I got medals, better performance, and diet, and even sponsorship. My techniques and mechanics were improved by my coach. I call him Bhaiya, which means older brother in Hindi. Since I started training with my new coach, from January until now, my progress has been great. In the Para-Athletics World Championships in Japan, in May 2024, I got 2 medals, and I got 2 medals here. That's why I want to give so many thanks to my coach. I don't even know how to even thank him for making me so successful. How are people reacting to your Paralympics victory? People in my neighborhood are saying in our community, no girl has ever worked this hard. They're giving me blessings and very shocked that this girl has won 2 medals in the Paralympics. Before this, no one knew who I was. In my village, so many people came to our house that my dad can't even find time to work. So many people are coming with congratulations, putting garlands on him, saying your daughter has done so well. No one else in our community has achieved this. After I won a medal at the 100-meter race, people in my village set up a large screen TV on the road and put all these chairs out to watch my 200-meter race. They were all cheering and yelling, "Preeti, run! Preeti, run! Preeti, run!" It made me so emotional to see that video. Now I can't wait to go back to India and see everyone's reaction. They're telling me that they're going to parade me all around my village. I'm extremely excited to see that. What's your message for those with disabilities in India and in the world? You should never lose courage. You should believe in yourself. If you don't believe or trust in yourself that you can do it, then you won't be able to do anything. So make up your mind you can do it. You need to have passion, and if you have it and you want to do something, you'll do it. If you think you can't do it, you've lost even before you tried. What was your biggest obstacle? At the Asian Games, it was just by a mini microsecond that I got 4th place. It was at that time I knew I'd have to work even harder, day and night, no matter what. I'll do it. I'll never give up. Perhaps because of that loss, I won these medals at these Paralympics. Sometimes in order to win, we must lose. I know that if I medaled at the Asian Games, I would not have improved myself and would have even made it all the way here. Will this victory help you support yourself? The Indian government gives athletes 2 crore rupees per Paralympics medal. For my 2 medals, that's a total of 4 crores, equivalent to $476,000. I'd like to fix up my family's house, do home renovation, and get my sister married. I'm going to use my prize money to get my older sister a car for her wedding. I hope with this, I can get a good job with lifetime security. My state is appointing athletes who won medals in major competitions to government jobs. I want to get a post in the police force as a deputy superintendent of police. I also receive a 20,000 rupee, about $240 monthly stipend for my sponsorship with OGQ, Olympic Gold Quest. It's an organization that sponsors athletes in India. What's next on your list of dreams to achieve? Winning a gold medal. After the Paralympics, I will be traveling around. After that is the World Championships in Delhi. But my biggest goal is the Paralympics 2028 in Los Angeles. There, I'm going to try to change the color of my medal, and I'll work even harder to get there. The villagers who told your parents you're not marriage material because of your disability, what are they saying now? People used to say, how will this girl get married? How will she even take care of herself? She has no future. I used to feel bad and think, why are people looking at me like this? Why are they saying these things? Those people who used to say those things are now coming to give my family congratulations. My dad is probably thinking, my daughter will shut their mouths. Now suitors will just come on their own, but I don't plan to marry them. I'm not thinking about marriage for myself. Here, when a girl turns 22, the community starts forcing her into marriage. I'm planning to support my parents, since my dream is to help my family and win medals. I hope people can see that this girl has done well, and others will do the same. How is climate change affecting hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones? 2020 was the most active hurricane season on record with 30 named tropical storms. Japan has been hit by Typhoon Shanshan, one of the strongest such storms in decades. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic, U.S. forecasters have warned of a potentially extraordinary hurricane season between June and November 2024, with the peak expected in September. Many regions are currently experiencing very high sea temperatures, which can make these storms more intense. What are hurricanes? Hurricanes are powerful storms which develop in warm tropical ocean waters. In other parts of the world, they are known as cyclones or typhoons. Together, these storms are referred to as tropical cyclones. Where do tropical cyclones take place? Tropical cyclones are characterized by very high wind speeds, heavy rainfall, and storm surges. Short-term rises to sea levels. These often causes widespread damage and flooding. Hurricanes can be categorized by their peak sustained wind speed. Major hurricanes are rated category 3 and above, meaning they reach at least 111 miles per hour. Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Scale explained. Category 1 is winds between 74 to 95 miles per hour, some damage and power cuts. A Category 2 has winds between 96 and 110 miles per hour and creates extensive damage. Category 3 is winds between 111 and 129 miles per hour when well-built homes suffer major damage. Category 4 is winds between 130 and 156 miles per hour and severe damage to well-built homes. Category 5 is winds greater than 157 miles per hour when many buildings destroyed and major roads cut off. How do hurricanes form? Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones begin at atmospheric disturbances. For example, a tropical wave, an area of low pressure where thunderstorms and clouds develop. As warm, moist air rises from the ocean surface, winds in the storm cloud begin to spin. The process is linked to how the Earth's rotation affects winds in tropical regions just away from the equator. For a hurricane to develop and keep spinning, the sea surface generally needs to be at least 27 degrees Celsius to provide enough energy, and the winds need to not vary much with height. If all these factors come together, an intense hurricane can form, although the exact causes of individual storms are complex. Hurricanes' basic ingredients include rain clouds, horizontal winds, spin winds, hot, humid air rising, heavy rain, low pressure zone, and ocean surface and water mass with temperatures higher than 27 degrees Celsius. Have hurricanes been getting worse? Globally, the frequency of tropical cyclones has not increased, and in fact the number may have fallen, although long-term data is limited in some regions. But it is likely that a higher proportion of tropical cyclones across the globe are reaching Category 3 or above, meaning they reach the highest wind speeds, according to the UN's climate body. The IPCC major Atlantic hurricanes over past century. Hurricanes per year by highest category achieved between 1920 and 2023. Major is defined as a Category 3 or higher on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Storm frequencies and intensities are less certain further back in time. It quotes medium confidence that there has been an increase in the average and peak rainfall rates associated with tropical cyclones. The frequency and magnitude of rapid intensification events in the Atlantic has likely increased. This is where maximum wind speeds increase very quickly, which can be especially dangerous. There also seems to have been a slowdown in the speed at which tropical cyclones move across the Earth's surface. This typically brings more rainfall for a given location. For example, in 2017, Hurricane Harvey stalled over Houston, releasing 100 centimeters of rain in 3 days. In some places, the average location where tropical cyclones reach their peak intensity has shifted poleward. For example, the western North Pacific. This can expose new communities to these hazards. And there is some evidence that the increased intensity of U.S. hurricanes means they are causing more damage.
Hurricanes. Some of the most powerful and damaging tropical storms have hit the U.S. in just the last couple of decades. Does that mean they're getting worse? Well, if frequency is any measure of how bad they've become, then no. The sheer number of hurricanes hasn't increased, but overall, the storms are getting stronger. The number of Category 3, 4, and 5 hurricanes, the most intense, is on the rise. That's making these storms more costly and deadly too. Hurricane Katrina, which hit Louisiana in 2005, reached the coast as a Category 3 storm. The storm left more than 1,200 people dead, displaced hundreds of thousands more, and left $125 billion in damages. At the time, it was considered a once-in-a-century storm. But between 2016 and 2018 alone, the U.S. was impacted by 6 other major hurricanes. What powered Katrina and other storms is the heat in the oceans. So as oceans warm, hurricanes gain more energy and become more severe. The result, scientists say, is that more will reach higher wind speeds and rates of rainfall, which can cause catastrophic destruction and widespread flooding, like we saw with Hurricane Harvey in 2017. 9 trillion gallons of water fell over the Texas coast, hitting Houston especially hard. The region was underwater for days, and tens of thousands were displaced. Recovery has taken years. So as hurricanes approach in the future, they're more likely to wreak havoc and impact not just coastal communities, but those further inland as well.
Is climate change affecting hurricanes? Assessing the precise influence of climate change on individual tropical cyclones is challenging. The storms are relatively localized and short-lived and can vary significantly in any case. But rising temperatures do affect these storms in several measurable ways. Firstly, warmer ocean waters mean storms can pick up more energy, leading to higher wind speeds. The forecast of between 4 and 7 major Atlantic hurricanes in 2024 is partly because of record-high Atlantic sea surface temperatures. The high temperatures are mainly due to long-term greenhouse gas emissions. Secondly, a warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture, leading to more intense rainfall. Climate change made the extreme rainfall from Hurricane Harvey in 2017 around 3 times more likely, according to one estimate. Finally, sea levels are rising, mainly due to a combination of melting glaciers and ice sheets, and the fact that warmer water takes up more space. Local factors can also play a part. This means storm surges happen on top of already elevated sea levels, worsening coastal flooding. For example, it is estimated that flood heights from Hurricane Katrina in 2005, one of America's deadly storms, were 15 to 60% higher than they would have been in the climate conditions of 1900. Over the IPCC concludes that there is high confidence that humans have contributed to increases in precipitation associated with tropical cyclones, and medium confidence that humans have contributed to the higher probability of a tropical cyclone being more intense. How might hurricanes change in the future? The number of tropical cyclones globally is unlikely to increase, according to the IPCC. But as the world warms, it says it's very likely they will have higher rates of rainfall and reach higher top wind speeds. This means a higher proportion would reach the most intense categories, 4 and 5. The more global temperatures rise, the more extreme these changes will tend to be. The proportion of tropical cyclones reaching category 4 and 5 may increase around 10% if global temperature rises are limited to 1.5 Celsius, increasing to 13% at 2 degrees Celsius and 20% at 4 degrees Celsius, the IPCC says, although the exact numbers are uncertain. AI solution to the cocktail party problem used in court. In groups, people screen out chatter around them, and now technology can do the same. It's a perennial cocktail party problem. Standing in a room full of people, drink in hand, trying to hear what your fellow guest is saying. In fact, human beings are remarkably adept at holding a conversation with one person while filtering out competing voices. However, perhaps surprisingly, it's a skill that technology has until recently been unable to replicate. And that matters when it comes to using audio evidence in court cases. Voices in the background can make it hard to be certain who's speaking and what's being said, potentially making recordings useless. Electrical engineer Keith McElveen, founder and chief technology officer of Wave Sciences, became interested in the problem when he was looking for the U.S. government on war crimes case. What we were trying to figure out was who ordered the massacre of civilians. Some of the evidence included recordings with a bunch of voices all talking at once. And that's when I learned what the cocktail party problem was, he says. I had been successful in removing noises like automobile sounds or air conditioners or fans from speech. But when I started trying to remove speech from speech, it turned out not only to be a very difficult problem, it was one of the classic hard problems in acoustics. Sounds are bouncing around a room, and it is mathematically horrible to solve. Keith McElveen founded Wave Sciences in 2008 to focus on the cocktail problem. The answer, he says, was to use AI to try to pinpoint and screen out all competing sounds based on whether they originally came from in a room. This doesn't just mean other people who may be speaking. There's also a significant amount of interference from the way sounds are reflected around a room, with the target speaker's voice being heard both directly and indirectly. In a perfect anechoic chamber, one totally free from echoes, one microphone per speaker would be enough to pick up what everyone was saying. But in a real room, the problem requires a microphone for every reflected sound too. Mr. McElveen founded Wave Sciences in 2009, hoping to develop a technology which could separate overlapping voices. Initially, the firm used large numbers of microphones in what's known as array beamforming. However, feedback from potential commercial partners was that the system required too many microphones for the cost involved to give good results in many situations and wouldn't perform at all in many others. The common refrain was that if we could come up with a solution that addressed those concerns, they'd be very interested, says Mr. McElveen. And he adds, we knew there had to be a solution, because you can do it with just 2 ears. The company finally solved the problem after 10 years of internally funded research and filed a patent application in September of 2019. What they had come up with was an AI that could analyze how sound bounces around a room before reaching the microphone or ear. We catch the sound as it arrives at each microphone, backtrack to figure out where it came from, and then, in essence, we suppress any sound that couldn't have come from where the person is sitting, says Mr. McElveen. The effect is comparable in certain aspects to when a camera focuses on one subject and blurs out the foreground and background. The results don't sound crystal clear when you can only use a very noisy recording to learn from, and they're still stunning. This technology had its first real-world forensic use in a U.S. murder case, where the evidence it was able to provide proved central to the convictions. After 2 hitmen were arrested for killing a man, the FBI wanted to prove that they'd been hired by a family going through a child custody dispute. The FBI arranged to trick the family into believing that they were being blackmailed for their involvement, and then sat back to see the reaction. While text and phone calls were reasonably easy for the FBI to access, in-person meetings in 2 restaurants were a different matter. But the court authorized the use of Wave Science's algorithm, meaning that the audio went from being inadmissible to a pivotal piece of evidence. Since then, other government laboratories, including in the UK, have put it through a battery of tests. The company is now marketing the technology to the US military, which has also used it to analyze sonar signals. It could also have the applications in hostage negotiations and suicide scenarios, says Mr. McElveen, to make sure both sides of a conversation can be heard, not just the negotiator with a megaphone. Late last year, the company released a software application using its learning algorithm for use by government labs performing audio forensics and acoustic analysis. Eventually, it aims to introduce tailored versions of its product for use in audio recording kit, voice interferences for cars, smart speakers, augmented and virtual reality, sonar, and hearing aid devices. So, for example, if you speak to your car or smart speaker, it wouldn't matter if there was a lot of noise going around you. The device would still be able to make out what you were saying. AI is already being used in other areas of forensics too. According to forensic educator Terry Armenta of the Forensic Science Academy, ML machine learning models analyze voice patterns to determine the identity of speakers, a process particularly useful in criminal investigations, where voice evidence needs to be authenticated, she says. Additionally, AI tools can detect manipulations or alterations in audio recordings, ensuring the integrity of evidence presented in court. And AI has also been making its way into other aspects of audio analysis too. Bosch has excuse me. Bosch has a technology called SoundC that uses audio signal processing algorithms to analyze, for instance, a motor sound to predict a malfunction before it happens. The traditional audio signal processing capabilities lack the ability to understand sound the way humans do, says Dr. Samdrit Das, a director of research and technology at Bosch USA. Audio AI enables deeper understanding and semantic interpretation of the sound of things around us, better than ever before. For example, environmental sounds or sound cues emanating from machines. More recent tests of the Wave Science's algorithm have shown that, even with just 2 microphones, the technology can perform as well as a human ear. Better, when more microphones are added, and they also reveal something else. The math in all our tests shows remarkable similarities with human hearing. There's little oddities about what our algorithm can do, and how accurately it can do it. They are astonishingly similar to some of the oddities that exist in human hearing, says McElveen. We suspect that the human brain may be using the same math, that in solving the cocktail party problem, we may have stumbled upon what's really happening in the brain.